want me to.
Hello everybody, and thanks for joining me today at the 00 Spartan Gaming. Hope everybody's doing good today. So this video is coming to you guys as a special request from the American Truck Simulator forum. I have a gentleman who had requested a video due to the fact that he can't get his G25 to allow him to shift gears while in game. So I'm doing this video in regards to him, and I hope that maybe I can help some fellows, other G25 users out there who are currently using this wheel as well and maybe having issues. So one of the first things that we want to do is we want to download this Logitech profiler. Now, what the Logitech profiler does is it allows you to set a profile setting for the racing wheel that can be used over multiple games. Now, in the options for this, there is a global profiler settings. Just apply preset to profile, and then choose profile, and this will actually use this preset for just about any game that you use. Now, this will allow you to set all the buttons, what they do, how they react, and how they respond. So you're going to want to get the profiler. It's always running in the corner down here. And that is almost a must. Everybody I know who's running a Logitech racing wheel is using the Logitech profiler. Once you've got this down and you set your settings up, you choose your device, you go through, you make sure everything is set properly. So like if we choose on steering wheel, we can see the axis properties, Sensitivity should be at 50%. That's default. You should keep most of these settings at default. Don't change them. Just leave them at default. I have no issues running any game that I run on default. So once that's done, what you're going to want to do is locate your control panel. If you don't know how to locate the old school control panel opposed to the new Windows Start settings, we're not using these settings here. What we want is the actual control panel. If you don't know how to locate that, right click on your actual start button down here, and in here you should be able to find control panel. They changed it. Windows updated it and changed it. So if that's the instance and you don't know how to locate it, just open your search bar and type in control panel, blam. You don't even have to type the whole thing in and you get it. I have mine pinned to my start menu, so if I exit it, my control panel task manager is always down here. I prefer to have the older control panel. It's a lot easier to use. It's what I'm used to using, and the new one's just dumb. So in here, what we're going to do is we're going to go to devices and printers. So this is our next step after we get the profiler. If you don't know where to get the profiler, just go to Logitech. Literally, you can literally go to Google and search Logitech profiler, and it's the driving force GT Logitech support. Just download the profiler and put it on the PC. It is a little outdated compared to some of the other programs that are out there. If we actually look at the profiler again here, and we go to about the profiler, we can see this version's from 2010, version 5.10.127. Apparently, Logitech, when they know they did something right, they leave it be because, it's 2018. So, this thing's 8 years old. Older than Windows 8. So, yeah, make sure you get the profiler. Next, we want to open a control panel and go to devices and printers. In the devices and printers, you should see G25 racing wheel. If we right click on the G25 racing wheel, we're going to see properties, troubleshoot, remove device, create shortcut, and game controller settings. That's the one we want. We want to click on game controller settings, and we're going to get this little screen that pops up here. You should only have one device in the installed game controllers list. That should be your G25. I use an Xbox One controller for some of my games, and you can see it doesn't show up in the list. It's over here, but it's not plugged in and hooked up, so it's not even in the list. It's not even showing up as an accessible device right now. Now, if you are using a gamepad, you do not want to use a gamepad and the wheel connected at the same time. You can use the gamepad with the wheel connected, but sometimes if you're trying to use the wheel and you have a gamepad connected, you get contradictions in the software, and a lot of the games prefer you to use the gamepad, so they just automatically like say screw this and forget the wheel and don't allow you to use the wheel. I have that problem on Assetto Corsa. If I'm playing Assetto Corsa and my gamepad or controller is plugged in, my wheel does not work at all. I literally have to kill the game, unhook my controller, and start the game back up, and then it works seamlessly. I have no issues. So if you're doing this and you have a controller hooked up to your PC as well, make sure you unhook the controller whenever you intend to use the wheel. Otherwise, you could have some conflictions in the system, and it just won't work. Now, in here, what we want to go to is properties. Just regular click on properties, and properties will actually show you. So if I spin my wheel, we can see in the top left corner of the screen, on the property screen there, that the wheel is spinning as I turn it. We also have our throttle, we have our brake, extremely hard to press, and then we have our clutch. Now in here we can go to settings. Really the only thing that you need to worry about is the degrees of rotation. Many games are out there have several different degrees of rotations. What that means is how many degrees of rotation the wheel spins for one rotation on the wheel opposed to one rotation on the screen. Now, I'm a huge drifter. Love Forza. Forza Horizon 3, I have to set my degrees of rotation to 366 degrees to get a smooth motion that's identical on the screen as to what I do on my wheel. 366 degrees. Now, games like Euro Truck Simulator, American Truck Simulator, Assetto Corsa Simulator, Racing Simulator, these games all have simulation style steering. They're 900-degree rotation as if it would be in real life. So you want to set that to 900 degrees. The only time you should really drop it from 900 degrees is if you start a game up like The Crew or Forza or any of these games that only give you a 90-degree rotation on the screen. Then you have to come in here and you have to play with it until you find that perfect sweet spot, and then write it down. Keep a notebook of all the degree rotations for all your games. Then you can come in here, you can quickly slap the rotation setting that you need, close it, blam, start your game, and you're ready to go. If not, you just play with it every time because you'll forget what your degrees of rotation is for that specific game, and it's never the same. So your consistency just went down the drain. So make sure you write these down, keep a note of them somewhere. You don't even have to write them. I mean, you're on a computer, use Notepad, save it somewhere. Save a log of every game's degrees of rotation. I haven't because I only use two, 366 degrees for The Crew and Forza, and 900 degrees for everything else. The rest of these settings are all personal preference. These are your force feedback settings. That's going to be whether you want that wheel to be torn out of your hand if you hit a bump or something or not. So these are all personal preference. Use the wheel, decide what you like, decide what settings you prefer, other settings, adjust them to what you're comfortable using it at, and that's all on you. So if you got your 900 degrees rotation set, what we're going to do is close. Now, something that's a lot of people don't know about on the Logitech, if you go to this game controller's properties screen again, if you hold shift and control and click on properties, like as if we just clicked on properties with the left click, you're going to get this Logitech G25 Racing Wheel USB properties screen with game controller calibration and the ability to manually calibrate your wheel. Don't do it. I've tried it. It just doesn't work. It doesn't seem to respond in manual calibration mode as well. But what's nice about this is if you're running into problems and issues, just come in here and click this dang reset button right here. Because if you click reset, it's going to reset it to all the default crap that it should be at, and you should be good to go. Now we can actually go to test here, and we can see if I spin my wheel, you see the crosshair moving in that little white box, and we got accelerator, brake, and clutch. Now down here, number 9, that's gear 1. If we go into first gear, we can see 9 light up. Number 10's second gear, and so on, all the way through 5th and 6th, and then reverse. So 9 through 15 is your 1 through 6 plus reverse. Them should be lighting up. If you're not seeing these light up, then your shift module is not connected properly. In that instance, you're going to want to step back, take apart your assembly from whatever it's connected to, make sure all your wires are connected properly, there's no cuts, frays. Check the ends of the connectors for bent pins or missing pins for where they plug into the actual wheel unit itself. On the G25, I actually have a power light. That power light should be lit up. There's a power indicator, and then there's also another light with an up and down arrow. That is a slap shift mode. Only the G25 has it. You can actually turn the knob on the G25, put it in slap shift mode, and be able to use slap shift with the actual 8 shifter opposed to using your paddles. To me, that's a plus. I really like that feature. I wish the 27 and the 29 and the 920 had it. I don't know why they took that feature out. On the 27, that circle's there for the knob. However, the knob is not existent and that mode is not existent. I don't understand why they took that out. It does come in handy, especially with playing like Assetto Corsa and stuff, because then I can set my paddles for other functions and use the slap shift. And what's nice about it, especially on Assetto Corsa, is I can actually go from one car that requires an 8 shifter to another car that requires a slap shift, and I don't even have to leave the game. I literally can just flip that button and it goes straight into the slap shift mode, and I can literally swap just like that in an instant. So make sure this stuff's set to default. Make sure you test your buttons. As you press your buttons, you know, obviously you should get some lights. It'll pop up as you press the button. If all this stuff is done correctly, at that point you want to launch American Truck Simulator. I'm just going to tab over real quick and make sure we're on the right screen. Of course, we're not. Or no, we are on the right screen. Okay. Alt tab showing me the wrong crap. So I'm just going to go continue game. Now, this may take a minute to load. I have Viva Mexico mod installed along with Canada Dream and Coast to Coast. So I have the entire, basically, North American continent right now. That's something, if you guys want to know how to do this, make sure you drop it in the comments. I will show you guys how to do and install these mods to unlock basically the entire North American continent. So we can go clear up, you know, into New York and so on. Right there's where I live, Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, baby. Down into Florida, clear down into Mexico. Now we can see the part of the roads are missing. This is a work in progress. The developers are always working on this. They do a great job and provide great solid content. So, you know, bear with them as these other towns show up without roads to them. Because they will open soon enough. But that's not what we're here for. That's another topic for another day. If you guys want them mods and can't figure it out, it was a little tough. There's a specific order they need to be placed in for priority, or they just don't run. But what we want to do is we want to come in here, we want to go to options, and we want to go to controls. Now, first thing I advise everybody to do to setting this up for a racing wheel is to just run the input wizard. I'm not going to do it because my stuff's already set up, it's already mapped out, and I don't want to mess up my map. It took me a while to map all the buttons out to where exactly how I like them. So run the input wizard first off. You're going to choose wheel, you're going to choose 8 shifter, and then you're going to choose range and splitter, which is under the shifter layout. Now, after you do that, you'll come into this settings page. The first thing I recommend is, you know, turn your wheel, press your gas, press your brake, your clutch. Make sure that you're getting responses on all this stuff. Next thing you want to do to make sure you have a response on your 8 shifter, come down here for Shifter position 1, just take your shifter, put it in gear 1, and take it back out, and it should stay the same. It should change it to joy button 8, which is where it was to begin with. So 1 through 15, or 1 through 13. Now, joy button 15 and 17. These are your shifter toggles. Shifter toggle meaning your range and splitter buttons. You have high range and low range, and then you have the splitter to takes you from 1 through 4. If you're running Eaton, that is, it takes you from 1 to 4 to 5 to 8. Actually, it takes you from low 1 to 4. Well, low, then 1, 2, 3, 4, and then you hit your range, or not your range, your splitter, and your splitter takes you to 5, 6, 7, 8. And all of them have a low gear and a high gear. So you have, that's what your range is. Your range is low and your range is high. So now I run the Eaton Fuller 18-speed transmission in game. I'm also running the Eaton Fuller 18-speed shifter layout, which means my shifter layout is exactly the same layout as it would be if you were driving the real deal. No funny business here. So if you're driving the real deal, it's the same layout. So the pattern, the shift pattern is identical. Now, obviously, if you're running a 10 speed, you're going to run the 10 speed. If you're running the Eaton Fuller 13, you're going to want to run the 13 pattern. Don't run a 6 speed with an 18 speed pattern. You're just asking for trouble. The truck's not going to respond right. You're going to have all these spots that it's going to say that you're going to have because you're running that layout that you don't really have. So you're just going to get terrible performance. And it's just not going to cooperate for you. So choose, now if you're not running one of the specific shift patterns and you still want to run the range and splitter properly, just choose range and splitter. And then you also have the option of just doing range or just doing split. If you're running an 8 shifter, range and splitter through the actual shift patterns is the way to go. Now I have my shifter layout behavior on advanced. You can do this all on simple. You do not need to have it on advanced. All advanced does is make the shifter react as if it was a real truck. Meaning when you go in gear, it kind of hesitates to get into that gear. Not only that, but I can actually bump the truck into neutral without touching the clutch or the throttle. I can literally just bump it in the neutral. Can't do that on a simple layout, on the layout behavior. If you have that set to simple, you can't do that. You have to have it in advance. Not only that, but something else you can't do on simple is float your gears. If you want to float gears, you have to have that on advance, because otherwise, when you take it out of gear on simple, it doesn't change until you push that clutch in. On advanced, you can take it out of gear without touching that clutch. So you can actually float the gears, which means you can shift gears without the clutch and it'll go into gear. May grind a little bit, but it'll go into gear as the RPMs come down. It'll fall into gear. And then if you are doing advanced, I do recommend using shifter fast split. What that allows you to do is it allows your transmission to use the splitter and the range button just by either letting off the gas or pressing the clutch. Now to do the split, you have to put it in neutral. So if you're in 5 low and you want to go to 1 low, you press your split button, you pull it out of 5 low and put it back into where 5 low is, and then you're in 1 low. You can't just press the button and press the clutch, and you have to actually pull it out of gear and put it back in for the split. For the range, however, you can press from low range, you can hit your button to go to high range, just let off the gas and hit the gas, and you're in high range, just like that. So that's pretty much all there is to it. As long as these settings are all set properly and the settings in the operating system are set properly, then you should be good to go. You should be able to hit the road and go. Now, one of the things that you can do as well is you can come into the keys and buttons, and under the secondary, you can see I have joy buttons set up. These are for like stopping engine, hooking up to the trailer, trailer brakes. I have my trailer brakes hooked to my right paddle. My paddle shifters, which is in the same spot that it actually is on a real truck. It's on the right side of the wheel. And then like my left paddle is my Jake brake. So when I'm going down the road, if I want to hit my Jake brake, I just press my left paddle and there's Jake brake right there. And I also got horn and so on set up on here. But you can set whatever floats your boat to whatever buttons you want. Now, this list is super long, so obviously I keep a keyboard on my lap because I can't map all these buttons and all these controls to, 20 buttons on a wheel. It's not enough. It don't work. So, I keep a keyboard on my lap. I really don't use it much other than changing view. And some couple odd and end stuff like hitting enter to accept a job and so on. I don't have that button mapped. Excuse me. But that's all there is to it. If you are having continuous issues, one of the things that I would recommend performing would be to unhook the wheel, uninstall all software, drivers, everything related to the wheel, or to a gamepad, or to whatever. Uninstall all that crap, and then hook the wheel back up and reinstall everything. You might have some confliction in the software if you have software installed that runs this device and software that runs this device, and both of them are running, and this software don't know what this device is, and this software don't know what this device is. They can conflict and cause issues. So that's something else you might want to check if you've run through everything that I've just showed you, and you're still having the same results and it's still not working. So then take the necessary steps to uninstall all the programs and software and drivers and so on that you have to run your setup, and then reinstall that software. If you're still having issues after that, you have a problem with your actual device itself. Maybe try another USB port as well. Check your wires for frays, slices, cuts, bent pins, damaged connectors, damaged ends. Even check the power source. If your outlet's not providing enough power to the unit, that could definitely cause some issues along the line as well. But beyond that, whenever I got my G25, I literally plugged it in, mapped it out, and it worked. I didn't need anything special stating to play that game, or play any of my games. I literally plugged it in, just map it for each game. Whenever I get in game, I go to the game settings, map out the buttons, where I want the buttons and how I want it set up, my preference, and you're going to have your preference. And then it worked perfectly fine. I didn't have no issues after that. I've had no issues with this wheel at all. The only time I've ever had an issue where the wheel doesn't respond is when I got this controller hooked up. When this controller is hooked up and I play Assetto Corsa, I have no wheel response. It's not like that for ATS. So, I can say from personal experience, I could plug the controller in, launch ATS, and play with the wheel, and the controller won't interfere, personally on my end. It may be a little bit different from you guys, depending on how your setup is and how your game settings are. But if you're not running a gamepad and you're just running the wheel, you shouldn't have that contradiction there. Make sure that only one copy of your wheel is in the device manager and the properties. If you got more than one G25 racing wheel in here, just delete both of them and restart the computer. When you delete this stuff, the Windows 10 will automatically reinstall this stuff on its own as soon as you start the computer up and it senses the device is there. So you don't have nothing to worry about. You just right click, remove device, make sure it's unplugged from your computer first, remove device, and then shut your computer off, plug it back in, and start your computer up. You'll watch it go through its startup calibration mode and everything else. And Windows will take care of the rest. It'll do it for you. So yeah, I mean, that's all I have really to show you guys on this video. This is just a tutorial for that. I hope this is helpful for those of you that are having issues and problems getting your G25 racing wheel set up to work with American Truck Simulator. If you're still continue to have problems, or you need additional information with anything that I've showed you and so on, make sure to drop it in the comments below. If you liked the video, make sure you like and subscribe, and check me out on Twitch at .00 Spartan, .00 Spartan on Twitch. I do a lot of live streaming on Twitch, and we're going to be coming to you guys with a special treat on Twitch. on April 23rd, the release of the new Identity RPG PC game. It's basically Grand Theft Auto on steroids times a billion. It's going to blow your minds. So tune in on April 23rd on my Twitch channel and check us out. There's 10 of us going in on the closed beta. We're all pre-order, early access pledgers. Um, and we'll all be there on the 23rd of next month for the closed beta, and you're not going to want to miss it. This game's going to completely revolutionize the gaming industry. So make sure you tune in. Check me out on Twitch. Like and subscribe. Any comments or questions, make sure you drop them down below. And I will see you guys later.